Well, good day, family. We're coming to you again, and as much as we can, relying and trusting and upon the Spirit of the living God. I want to encourage you today. During this season, we all have times of reflection and time of challenge, and when it comes to you and your family and just the world at large and during this global pandemic. But one of the things that I noticed that everywhere we turn and everyone we talk to seem to have some thoughts about this, and our world has been turned upside down, and life as we know it is different, and the world which we once knew, now we're trying to regain confidence in the future. And I know there's this talk about the new normal, but I call it new anything but normal. And I was having dinner with my wife, Shar, and my daughters, and realized that our lives have changed in a very short time. I look back just last month and how we need to adopt now. But if we're going to thrive in the midst of this circumstance, not just survive, but thrive, I just want to just share a few thoughts that may resonate and hopefully can give us some hooks we can put our head on and help us to walk through this. And the one thing I'm finding out that it takes so much energy to focus on fear as it does to focus on trust. And trust is, I'm going to push pause and just say a few things about trust, and that God has shared with me in his word. Trust is faith accomplished. You know, John 14:1, he talks about how if we believe in God and he said, and trust in me also. And trust brings eternity into the history of our time, and trust sees and trust receives and trust holds. Trust is its own witness. You know, trust is always in the present and hope is in the future. And I thought about how the eyes presence of God give active life to trust, just like the eyes and presence of the sun make fruit and flowers grow. So the eyes and the presence of God give active life to trust. And so when we talk about trust in the sense of the Bible and hearing God's words when he says, I will never leave you or forsake you, I'm reminded that this is a time to lean. This is not a time, amen, to lean away from God, but it's time to lean toward him. And the psalmist says in Psalm 116 that says, because he has inclined his ear unto me, therefore I will call upon his name as long as I live. It's almost a picture of God kind of leaning forward to hear our faintest cry. You know, sometimes prayer can be broken down to a cry. I remember once my daughter had an injury, and she began to cry, and she really couldn't get out what was wrong, but her cry was so emphatic and so purposeful, and it lets me know that there was really something wrong. And I think during these times, you know, even when we don't quite know what to pray or what to say, the psalmist says, they that sow in tears will reap in joy. So even when we don't know quite what to pray, just crying out to God, he has a way of understanding. He does promise to walk with us, even through this shadow through the shadow of death. And I love what one pope said in a previous century. He said, I'm going to bed, God, and I'm giving you all my problems. He said, because you're going to stay up all night anyway. And that's not a bad way to live. The other thing I want to share with us is your circumstance may not change, but during this time, it's imperative that our disposition, our inclination, our character change, and that makes all the difference in the world. I'm looking at a sign the other day that says, attitude is everything. Pick a good one. And so during this time in our family and our ministry, and we have millions of people suffering much more than you and I, one thing I decided to do this week is I call think therapy. What that is, you just literally write a page of reasons why I was thankful. And you know what? I'm still in the midst of COVID season. Nothing really changed. Circumstances are the same, but my attitude and the outlook around me improves. So all I'm saying is if you're struggling with anxiety and depression or fear while worrying about our circumstances, maybe a dose of thankfulness can change your day. You know, it's amazing how sometimes God will have you practice things by default. You know, we're in this Lent season. I think this is a practice, a forced Lent upon us. We who are Christians are in the middle of that Lenten season. During those 40 days, we always want to give up something and add something to our lives, draw us closer to God, and bring a healthier lifestyle. And well, I really didn't think much about that. But as I was talking to my wife, we were talking the other day how this virus has called us to kind of sort of a forced Lent with the extra time that most of us have. And so we talk about how about adding or subtracting something from your life that will bring health. So here's just a few other ideas. Focus more time on replenishing your soul. Isn't it amazing how we're always exchanging our souls for something every day? There's always some kind of exchange. So I think this is the time, pick up that Bible, get an inspirational book, and put some energy into the soul. The next thing I want to share is exercise with more time and energy. I was talking to Pastor John the other day. I said, well, you know, I'm trying to get back into walking slowly but surely. He said, well, make it more surely than slowly. And so I thought about that, and I was out walking around. I saw the neighbors. And I tell you, there is one animal, maybe several, but one in particular, who's really enjoying this time more than any, and that's dogs. I mean, during the last few weeks, dogs have gotten more walk-in than they get an entire year because of the cancellations of people having or cannot go to work. So not only do you focus more time on replenishing your soul and exercise more, how about connect with your family daily? This is the time that I call AWE, A-W-E. The acrostic is affection, warmth, and encouragement. Everyone is on a bit of an edge, so be purposeful with your positivity and love with loved ones. The other thing is it's a good time, you know, I know we're rushing to HEB and we're loading up on things, but one of the things that I decided during this time is try to eat healthy, eat more for health than the taste. Now, you can look at me and tell that ain't easy. But my goal is to try to lose 10 pounds during this season and try to put the energy and my focus there. And maybe there's something you need to stop eating or drinking that would help you with your life. The other thing I want to talk about is monitor the amount of media intake in your life. Now, looking at trusted media, now let me say that again, trusted media. This is what you're looking at right now is trusted media. This is not democracy. This is a theocracy. This is trusted media. Listen. When we, in times of crisis, it's helpful to do that. But don't find yourself obsessing with MSNBC or Fox or CNN or wherever it is. Because just realize when enough is enough. Take a break, step back, and exhale. And, during the times of both the 9/11 terrorist attacks and the Boston Marathon bombings, studies found that people had increased exposure to media. Those that had that increased exposure to media, much more fear, and they had much more family conflict and fear because they were just obsessed with watching this media. And some people experience post-traumatic stress, cardiovascular problems, up to 3 years, even after 9/11 and the Boston bombing. So here's what is working for me. I update in the morning and early evening, and that's it. Not missing much. Not being on media constantly keeps my mind free of worry and stress. My dad used to say, if you're going to pray, don't worry. If you're going to worry, don't pray. Let's face it, times have changed, but it's up to us to do what we can to stay physically, emotionally, spiritually healthy. And remember, you're not alone in this, for he will never leave us or forsake us. Amen. Be blessed on purpose.